Lawmakers are also considering changing Oklahoma's laws regarding parental rights. It was the subject of an interim study meeting at the Capitol earlier this week. Jason Doyle joins us now with the details on that. Jason.
Rich, this interim study took a look at conditions of Oklahoma children and their families. With more than 8,600 kids in the state foster care system, the lawmaker who sponsored the study is looking for ways to try to keep families intact.
Looking at families, parents and their children, what their needs are.
Representative Danny Williams is the sponsor of this week's interim study examining parental rights in the state of families in Oklahoma. He says right off there needs to be more community support to keep families intact.
A lot more local support and involvement from churches, civic clubs, and that kind of thing with families and children in that area.
Most of that support would come in the form of mental health services like counseling or addiction recovery due to the high incidence of both in Oklahoma. Several children in the foster care system are there because of a parent's drug addiction or incarceration, which led to their separation. If a family is already fractured to the point where courts are involved, it seems it takes a little too long to help make sure the kids caught in those difficult situations get placed in a safer environment.
Now, of course, our number one motivation is to put families back together. But in some circumstances, that just can't happen. And so how do we handle that? And we're finding that there are sometimes kids get hung out 2 to 5 years in that limbo. And what happens is that damages them mentally and it affects them emotionally because they're not connected.
The lack of expediency in family courts concerning children was confirmed during the interim study by Oklahoma Commission of Children and Youth Commissioner Mike Warren.
We were getting some complaints from foster parents that wanted things to move quicker, and they were hoping to be able to adopt children. And after a termination of parental rights hearing, and it was not happening.
Warren outlined there is a lack of qualified legal representation in the courts, especially in rural areas. He says it comes down to the pay scale for family law attorneys.
The rural counties, which is everybody else but Oklahoma City, I believe Enid, Tulsa, and Lawton, we scamper trying to get attorneys to represent parents.
Despite a push to keep families together, a child's well-being should be made a priority and for the child to find a safe place with or away from the parents.
In order to combat childhood adversity, we need to achieve some type of permanency where the child feels like that they can relax, that they're not always on edge, that they're not always worried about what's going to happen next.
Those adverse events in a child's life can lead to an increased ACEs score. ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Events and is used to scientifically measure how much trauma a child has experienced.
And a higher ACE score is correlated with a whole host of things that can happen in the rest of your adult life, such as a shorter lifespan, higher rates for heart disease, things like that.
When the children in the home see or experience domestic violence, illicit drug use, or experience abuse or neglect themselves, their future can become more dim.
Exposure to violence, family stress, inadequate housing, lack of preventive health care, poor nutrition, poverty, and substance use all have the chance or the ability to impact a child's health. Poor health in childhood affects other critical aspects of a child's life, such as school readiness and attendance, and can have lasting consequences into their future.
Which means judges have to make tough decisions, and an outside advocate believes they should go beyond the he said, she said often encountered during contested custody cases. That's according to domestic violence expert Barry Goldstein, who is not part of the interim study, but has served as an expert witness and a trainer in Oklahoma.
Judges are given complete discretion what factors to focus most on. And so they could focus on health and safety of children, but in most cases they don't. They focus on other less important issues.
Goldstein has crafted model legislation called the Safe Child Act, which brings the science behind ACEs scores and other scientific methods to the courtroom to better protect a child from potential abuse or neglect or increased fear and stress due to abuse in the home.
Most of the harm from domestic violence and child abuse is not the immediate physical injuries, which is what courts look for. It's living with the fear and stress that abusers cause. And in most cases, courts don't even think about the fear and stress.
However, no specific legislation has been proposed yet in Oklahoma. Representative Williams is open to suggestion from the experts on the panel.
Ask them to come back with their 2 or 3 recommendations that make the most difference today. Let's try to do those. And then we'll come back in a year or 2 after we've improved a little bit there, and we'll take the next 2 or 3.
Another issue the interim study uncovered was that family court cases dealing with the custody of children are not the priority in district courts around the state, meaning those particular dockets are processed slower than crimes or civil cases.